Women's Spotlight is brought to you by Sprouts Farmers Market, open 7 days a week. Visit your neighborhood Sprouts for good-for-you groceries and great prices on the freshest produce. I'm putting the spotlight on USC women's soccer. Sean, do you know how many goals USC women's soccer has given up in Big Ten play so far this season?
Zilch.
0. 7-1-1 this team is, and they haven't even played a home game yet. They finally come home. They've been on the road.
Cody, how many goals have they scored so far?
Got
them.
Too many to count.
15. They played 9 games and not one home game?
Nope.
Oh.
Road life.
I guess soccer's a little
Warriors.
tough.
Wow, that's why we haven't seen the age.
That's why we haven't seen a lot of people. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody Kessler. Keely Yor joins us now for our weekly football roundtable. So much to talk about. We could almost do a podcast on it, but Keely and Cody
Oh my gosh,
will handle
Cody,
that.
we should do that.
Yeah.
You guys left more gutted by the loss or buoyed by the fact that USC ultimately probably looked like the better team out there?
Gutted. I think it's one of those that you sit there, I said it on the podcast, you sit there on the bus and you slice it so many ways of shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I think because
Coach even said it, it's like one of those one play flips game. And when you start doing that, there's like 30 plays to look at.
Exactly. And we talked about the horrible field position that USC's offense had and still took a lead at the end of the fourth or close to the end of the fourth. The fact that they were that close in the game when it felt like they could have counted themselves out, the fight that they showed, it makes you just want to be like, just one, it makes you want to slice and dice it. So I think gutted is, but ultimately, if I want to be an optimist, buoyed, I will say.
I don't like the one take on this game. I think this is a game where like multiple things are true, right? I think you're always trying to like make this overarching take on a game, and I think that USC did not play good enough. They failed in that department because they lost the game. But there was a ton of good things and things they got to work on, and that's just how the season rolls out, right? Every week you have a test. You either pass or fail. You win, but there's things to work on, and the goal is to get here right at the end. So you got to be working towards that. Now, have you seen progress? You've seen progress in a ton of areas. Are there things that concern you? Think about the offensive line against their defensive line. That was a loss, right? We got to work on that. We got to get better in that. You got to install confidence. There's just so many things in that ball game. Like you said, you're half a yard from winning that thing. So you can't just say it was a total loss because there's progress on this team and things. There's some things that have really looked great, but also still a lot of stuff to work on early in the season to get better towards your goal.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Like you said, we're just a couple plays away. But Lincoln said it best, right? The really good teams or the great teams, they make those plays, right? And Michigan executed on Saturday, and we didn't, right? And that's something that's frustrated. But going back to the number side of it, right? If you take away, they had 290 yards rushing. That's unacceptable. But if you take away those 3 big plays, and we were talking about this off camera, it's only 133 yards, right? And that's 3 yards per carry. That's winning football, right? So there's so many little things that you can pick from that. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I'm with you on that. We have to get the offensive line ready. We have to get the offensive line better. I think because of how much of a high we were on or how positive we were through the first 2 games, I think we were kind of letting go some of those concerned areas, right? We talked about the offensive line in preseason on our podcast.
Yeah,
we talked about some of the issues elsewhere that I think weren't really being addressed because of how positive we felt beating LSU, then having a shutout win, and then having a bye. I think that kind of brought that back to life, and I think it's going to be a good thing overall for this football team that they're going to address it now, and they're going to go after those points of concern and get them fixed going into this week.
What concerns you more, the 3 running plays that ultimately gas you, or the pass pro issues?
It's the pass pro issues to me. I think that the run issues, you can kind of go in and see exactly what happened and where it was leaked. But the offensive line, to me, just losing a lot of one-on-ones, that's concerning because you have to find guys. And these guys are young. I was there, Cody, you were there. You're a young guy. I remember Kansas State. I got reached probably 10 times in the game. They go for 300 yards rushing. I'm a freshman, and they're like, what the hell? Why is this kid out here? And that's where you grow. Those are those moments. This is where Elijah Page is going to go back to this film and say, "Oh, I got to get better in here, and I got to work." And that's where my work ethic was installed in that game. I got my butt kicked. How do I get better, and how do I improve on this after what I just did? I want to show my teammates that I can do better. And I think that's what Elijah Page will end up working with after this game.
Yeah, I mean, Sean said it best. My first touchdown ever at USC, I called the protection the wrong way, and I called the routes to the wrong side. And I still threw it to Nelson. And I mean that. But, those are things that you learn from, right? And I never made that same mistake again, right? And you're still going to learn, and it's going to be a growing process. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, I think the offensive line, back to Jordan's original question, is the biggest point of concern because we are now in the Big Ten, right? And we've talked about how important it is to be able to dominate on the trenches on both sides of the football. And when you have an offensive line that can't protect, you have an offensive line that struggles. I don't know, outside of Penn State, if we're going to see another defensive line as good as Michigan. But those are issues when you start rotating guys. You bring in Tobias Raymond, who played well as a freshman. There were some things that happened that hurt him, but I think he's going to learn from that. And then you move Mason Murphy from right tackle to left tackle. You get a little concerned. Is this what it's going to be going forward? They're going to figure this out this week. Only have 5 more days until Wisconsin. So, yeah, I think offensive line needs to be fixed and fixed fast because we're only going to go as far as they take us this year on offense.
It was a unique challenge, too. I almost think it's kind of hard to judge exactly how you feel about the defense. Quarterback threw for 32 yards, 35 yards.
7, I believe. Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
just something absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, like I didn't see a stat anywhere, but it has to be the lowest that's been thrown against USC in a very long time. I mean, I brought up the BC game. Did you play in that game?
2014?
So?
Yeah. Yeah, me and Sue actually were fighting about that off camera because you talked about it, I think, on Trojan Tailgate Show.
Yeah.
And
I brought it up in the airplane to Pete Arbogast, and he told me ridiculous. And
that was the game.
Well, I mean, obviously Michigan's better than BC, but similar quarterback situation.
Yeah, and they ran for what, 200, 300 yards,
and the kid threw for like 75 that night.
That. Yeah, no, that's.
Yeah.
But
when
you
it
have
shows
a team,
you, I mean, if you just run it and play defense, it kind of works. The NFL, you were talking about this, Sean. It works kind of every Sunday in the NFL. Steelers are 3-0 doing it, like just literally just sticking to it and being patient.
Yeah, you got to know your team. Unfortunately we caught Michigan a week later than they found themselves. Right, they found their identity. This is what we're going to do. This is how our winning football looks. Now, will they continue in that route, moving on? Who knows?
When they're behind 14-0.
Yeah, but this is
big
when
trouble.
they can get up and do those kind of things. So, I mean, you're a defense. You face 46 runs. You're going to give up some little. You just got to limit those explosives. They got to be 15, 20 yards instead of 40, 50 yard runs.
Keely, what individual performance stood out to you on a positive side?
Eric Gentry, by far. I mean, and producer Gia's hyped for him, and as she should be. I dropped these stats on the pod
He was
last
phenomenal.
night. Let's see if I can remember, but I believe he is second in the nation at tackles per loss per game at 2.17.
Yeah.
So he's just been rejuvenated under this defense under Danton Lynn. It's really fun to see him excited to play football again. And Cody, I know you want to say something right here.
No, I had asked Sean as a defense guy, how excited were you for that peanut punch that he had?
Oh yeah.
And then he recovered the fumble right after that to set us up. I mean, that's got to be cool to see. And yeah, he's playing high level football like Keely just said. It's awesome to see this defense flying around. And again, I know the numbers don't look great. We gave up 209 yards rushing. I know we've got to get it figured out and get it fixed, but you can't deny that this defense looks different than they did a year ago.
Peanut punch sounds inappropriate, but you're referring to Peanut Tillman.
Charles Tillman, Peanut Punch. It's where he punched
like
out his
candy.
nickname was Peanut.
I don't know.
Why?
I just want to make
it
sure
did not.
Gia doesn't yell at me. There was.
Oh
If that's as bad as that's as bad
We
as
love
I'm going to
Gia,
get.
and it's her birthday this
She's
week.
worried about
Wrap
the
it up.
audience misinterpreting things I say. Let's see if I can get this one right. Ready to take it to the next level? Unleash the beast this college tailgate season with Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet. Monster Energy. Unleash the beast. One final segment of Trojans Live is next. One final segment of Trojans Live on a Monday evening here in downtown Los Angeles. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Cody Kessler, Keely. Your over-under is presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. Over-under. Eric Gentry is currently tied for the Big Ten lead with 6.5 tackles for loss. Actually, it's smart the way you did it because taking into account the bye week, it's probably even better because your TFLs per game. But he's at 6.5 tackles for loss through 3 games. Over under 19.5 tackles for loss for Gentry this season. For context, Sean, since you just threw your hands
I'm
up,
trying to do the math.
Tuli Tuipulotu in 2022 had 22 for USC. But last year, USC was led by Solomon Byrd. He had 11. So 20 is a lot. He's certainly on pace for it, though. If you're trying to do the math,
I'm gonna
Sean
say
first.
over.
You always make me go first on the offense. You're first.
The math, Sean,
say
has him
under.
at like
I'm gonna
28.
say under. I mean, I remember the year Thule had was just spectacular. It didn't even seem real. The TFL just kept coming. So I mean, he's not 22 is crazy. I mean, you said 18.
He is, over-under is 19.5, so
Under,
20
I'm
would
gonna
be
go
the
under.
over.
Yeah, that's a little high.
I'm going over. I think he's going to keep riding this wave that he's playing right now and the confidence he has. I think he's going to keep it up and keep getting better in this defense.
I said over first, but no one heard me.
There you go.
Great show. Really appreciated Coach Riley, Deuce Robinson, Stefan Brankovic. We had great guests tonight, and Keely as well. Thank you to everyone involved for producing it. Hopefully a win to talk about next week, USC versus Wisconsin on Saturday. Fight on, everyone.